Welcome everyone to the Institute of Advanced Studies. For those who may be unfamiliar with the IAS, our main aim is to create a dynamic interdisciplinary research environment by bringing fantastic international researchers to Loughborough to collaborate with our academic staff and enrich our research community. Our residential fellowship programme is an important part of this work, and we're delighted that this programme is now back up and running following the lifting of restrictions imposed on international travel. If you want to find out more about the work of the Institute of Advanced Studies and how to get involved, please have a look at our website, which is elborough.ac.uk/research/IAS. So we're running this webinar as a hybrid event, and we have a few colleagues here with us in the room at International House and others joining us online. The webinar format automatically turns off your audio and video, but you can still post comments in the chat. Please could you use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen rather than the chat to post any questions you have for Cláudia, and we'll try and pick these up at the end of Cláudia's lecture. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Dr. Emmeline Zitkus, who's a lecturer at the Design School, to introduce our IAS Residential Fellow and the work she's been doing with us. Emmeline.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce Cláudia Libânio. She's a senior lecturer in management and innovation in healthcare. She's a program director in information technology and healthcare management at the Federal University of Health Science of Porto Alegre in Brazil. And recently she concluded her studies in safety, quality, informatics, and leadership in the health program at Harvard Medical School. And she is an active member of the Design Research Society and co-founder of the new special interest group called Global Health. So it was a pleasure to have Cláudia here with us since the beginning of November. Her research investigates design strategies for healthcare to improve the quality of life and well-being for users, particularly in low and middle income countries. So what we have been doing since Cláudia arrived at the beginning of November was to work to narrow down such a broad area of inquiry, healthcare systems and different cross-cultural. So to investigate good practice in other countries to promote an inclusive services and well-being for disabled people who are users of the Brazilian public healthcare system. So Cláudia was involved since the second day here in Loughborough. He was involved in many activities in the design school, meetings with the healthcare ergonomics and patient safety research unit, and helping us with the expert sessions for the design final year students. So last week, Cláudia ran a roundtable with researchers in design for healthcare in the Global South, with experts from Mexico, Chile, Peru, Brazil, Ghana. So it has been an intensive and busy weeks for Cláudia, with workshop for PhD students and presentations. So I believe this busy time here in Loughborough is just the beginning of her collaboration here with us in Loughborough. So, Cláudia, please tell us more about the research we've been doing. Okay.
Thank you, Emmeline. Thank you, Katie. Good morning, good afternoon, all for the people in Brazil. Thank you so much for being here today at this seminar. I intend to present and discuss about the project entitled Generating Design Strategies to Promote Quality of Life and Well-being for Users with Disabilities in the Brazilian Public Healthcare System. So first of all, I will briefly introduce myself. Here is a brief overview of my trajectory. I'm Cláudia de Libânio. I'm a senior lecturer in the area of design, management, and innovation in healthcare in a Federal University of Health Sciences in Brazil. Today, I also coordinate a master's degree program on information technology and healthcare management at the same university. So my research interests are healthcare design in low middle income countries, especially studying ways to improve quality of life and well-being of users with disabilities, and also ways to provide accessibility and inclusion for elderly population and vulnerable communities as well. Nowadays, I am at Loughborough University as a fellow, and I will present a research project and first activities that I did here, as well as start a discussion about design strategies to promote quality of life and well-being for users with disabilities in the Brazilian public healthcare system. So when we talk about health, we think about well-being, quality of life, inclusion, and accessibility for a large part of the population on our planet. When we analyze a healthcare system, we think about how to design products, services, environments, information, and technologies that can meet different contexts. This demographic, geographic, social, and cultural contexts entail disabled people, elderly population, women, vulnerable communities, and specific publics that require particular needs and special attention. In the context of healthcare systems, health has to be considered a fundamental human right and a key indicator of sustainable development. These general concerns have to do with the 17 United Nations goals. These goals are related to issues of poverty, hunger, education, health and well-being, gender equality, sanitation, energy, economic growth, employment, infrastructure, inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate, health, earth, peace, and justice. And we observe a huge occurrence of these issues in the low and middle income countries. According to the United Nations, most countries, especially poor countries, have insufficient health facilities, medical supplies, and healthcare workers for the surge in demand. United Nations reaffirms that inequality is growing for more than 70% of the global population. Less than half of the global population is covered by essential health services. There are more than 1 billion disabled people, 80% live in the developing countries. Another point that permeates the discussion of human health is the concern with planetary health and how to live in harmony and respect for our planet. The current global context encourages us to think not only about the human, but about also the global climate crisis and the global pandemics. And the current scenario highlights the difficulty of dissociating human health from planetary health. There is an increasing attention to earth problems in low middle income countries, for example. These occurrences end up reverberating throughout the world, impact the environmental imbalance, social inequalities, and economic and social development. These thoughts are the basis for our research. Thus, we have to face the challenge of how to promote access and inclusion for all people, considering access to products, services, technologies, information, and the environment. When we deal with this topic, many people think that accessibility and inclusion are matters of disabled people, but we should also consider people with reduced mobility, temporarily or permanently elderly people with reduced mobility or with impaired cognition, pregnant women, obese people, children in general. In a diverse world, it is necessary to respect such variety and promote accessibility and inclusion of people in society. With this in mind, I would like to start presenting the research project and then some activities we developed during this month. First of all, I would like to present the group that participate in this research project. It is formed by researchers from Loughborough University, University of Health Sciences of Porto Alegre in Brazil, and Unicinos University in Brazil also. Well, me, Dr. Emeline Zitkus, lecturer from Loughborough University, Leandro Toneto, a senior lecturer from Unicinos University, Patricia Bon and Emanuele Cogni, they are students from a healthcare management master degree program at Federal University of Health Sciences in Brazil. And the main aim of this research project is to rethink and to reframe the role of design in promoting quality of life and well-being for disabled people in low, middle, and income countries, especially in Brazil. The first part of the project consists of a systematic literature review to map the current research scenario on healthcare design, considering aspects of human and planetary health, as well as understanding how inclusion and accessibility are being addressed in the health context and their relation with the Sustainable Development Goals. In the second part, we promote discussions with experts and also with PhD students, considering the aspects emerged from the systematic literature review. We analyze these discussions in order to identify categories that were used as preparation for a future fieldwork. The continuity of this research will be conducted in the Brazilian context, with the participation of experts, hospital leaders, and students, focusing on issues related to reality of people with physical impairment, blind people, deaf people, people with cognitive reduction or intellectual disability, and vulnerable communities. Once I present this general overview of the research project, I will now present some of the activities we run during the last month. The first activity was a systematic literature review. It was performed by exploring the role of design in generating solutions for human and planetary health. 19 papers were selected to analyze. I sought to identify the design contributions in generating innovative solutions for human and planetary health, as well as the understanding how the papers considered to Sustainable Development Goals in their studies. With regards to the design contributions, the researchers address solutions aimed at human health, such as incorporating or improving mHealth and e-health technologies, computerized body pains maps, Internet of Things, smart product development, improvements in products and services, and mostly aimed at individuals with comorbidities or limitations. Some papers also observe human and planetary health, aiming at redesigning and creating sustainable food, sustainable buildings, improvement on air quality, treatments of water resources, sustainable urban infrastructure, social development for sustainable practices, open source hardware projects, and product improvements to combat epidemics. In general, it is possible to say that these innovative solutions are supported by the design approach as a way to innovate and contribute to the challenges of human and planetary health. With regards to the Sustainable Development Goals, some are not presented in these papers, suggesting that there may be unexplored opportunities for designers. After the literature review, a roundtable with 9 experts in healthcare design was developed, aiming at discussing some of the topics identified in the literature review in the context of low, middle, and income countries. The participants brought pictures representing healthcare design in low, middle, and explaining that highlighted inequalities, hierarchy, and world diversity, inclusion for all, humanization policies. They also discussed how design could act for a better experience, to humanize the process for a better user experience. More specifically, we discussed and analyzed differences and similarities in terms of health context among low, middle, and income countries and in the whole world. Challenges and opportunities in the healthcare sector issues for specific communities, disabled people, reduced mobility, women, children, elderly in low, middle, and income countries, and the role of design to overcome barriers. The third activity was a workshop with 10 PhD students. It's intended to work with accessibility and inclusion for low, middle, and income countries. A case study was presenting, and students were encouraged to think about threats and opportunities, as well as low, middle, and income countries' strengths and weaknesses in the context of disabled people or people with reduced mobility. Strategies to deal with problems were proposed concerning aspects of governmental policies, communication infrastructure, inclusive design practices, investments plans and partnerships, collaboration, education, and research investments, and respect for diversity. So I'd like to bring some initial topics that emerged from the general analysis. I would like to shed some light in such topic just to depict how the analysis will be further conducted. We realized an explored potential regarding how design is dealing with the issue of human and planetary health. This aspect was revealed in the lack of commitment related to how the papers considered the Sustainable Development Goals, for instance. As innovative professionals, we are required daily to generate solutions to unresolved problems, or even to identify and frame complex problems. In this scenario, designers constantly deal with uncertainty. Therefore, there is no ready-made or comprehensive view on the potential of design to promote human and planetary health. Nevertheless, we noted that the reviewed articles might not reveal the full potential of design in this sense. Aware of this opportunity for change, it appears that proposals aiming to face complex global problems require a collective and articulate effort through a participatory approach as a way to enhance the results to human needs without disregarding or even overlapping the communities and the planetary needs. Furthermore, it appears that design has a role to involve the different actors and articulate the necessary changes to face the complex demands related to the sustainability changes. From this initial study, it is evident that good health and well-being have a priority cause and effect relationship with responsible consumption and production, with sustainable cities and communities, and with life on land, whose form of production and use depends on individual and collective behavior, affecting their own health and the planetary health. Most of the papers in the literature review emphasize human aspect related to human health, despite the argumentation that human health involves more than human. Accessibility with regard to safety and autonomy is also another issue that emerged during the roundtable on the workshop. When it comes to quality of life and well-being, and the aim is to promote accessibility, this should be done by seeking people's safety and autonomy. In addition, the issue of humanized design in healthcare was widely discussed, which comes close to the premise of humanization of the Brazilian health system. Furthermore, inclusion and the consequent forms of inclusion that generate exclusion were also discussed. Technology was revealed as an example of exclusion and discrimination against diversity in line with the debate promoted at the IAS annual event last week. Finally, we found the importance of respecting diversity within the design context. In these regards, it is necessary to consider demographic, geographic, social, and cultural aspects. And low, middle, and income countries have a context with wide diversity and characteristics and needs that have to be considered. And these are some findings related to this first analysis. It is necessary further analysis and discussion in order to continue the research in the Brazilian context. Here are some fellowship activities developed during November, such as participation in meetings with students, lecturers, and professors, activities related to my research project, as these roundtables and workshops and literature review, development of partnerships, writing and submission of papers for journals, and submission of a discussion proposals for DRS Congress, and research project application. For the next steps of this research, we aim to go further into the debate about the role of design, or how design can play an important role in Brazilian healthcare system, to understand the Brazilian context, to explore opportunities to improve quality of life and well-being for disabled people in the Brazilian healthcare system. And thank you so much for your availability here. We can discuss more, and thank you.